I made a video yesterday explaining the basics behind getting into the early stages of recovery. I gave a little bit of advice, a bit of information about how to self-exclude, about other sorts of blocks you can put in place, and the first stages of recovery, which, let's face it, are indeed the most difficult and indeed the most important in terms of setting a solid foundation for a path to being gamble free and to a better life. This video has been very well received, and thank you so much for everyone who's chosen to comment and share their stories. In this video, what I want to talk about is the reasons why we should get onto that path for recovery, get onto that path to what I believe to be a better life. Firstly, of course, I just want to say hi, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. Thanks very much for clicking on this video. I would say, if you haven't seen that video I just mentioned, which is the one just before this, where I talk about all the things you can do in the early stages of recovery to rid yourself of this horrible, insidious and incredibly dangerous addiction, then maybe pause this video, go and watch that one, and then come back and I'll see you in a little bit. Otherwise, thank you to everyone who likes, subscribes and supports the channel. Thank you to everyone who's been signing up for the Patreon. I will talk a bit more about my Patreon at the end because there's some sort of quite interesting and possibly exciting stuff going on there. But let's get this video done first. Let's talk about what I want to talk about, because I think this is incredibly important to acknowledge the reasons why we should get into gambling recovery in the first place. It's all very well and good me sitting here talking about all the ways and blocks and means and things you can do in order to support yourself being gamble free. But what we need to decide to do in the first instance, and the most important first step we can make, is decide that we want to stop gambling. And for that, we require a reasoning, don't we? There needs to be a reason for us to stop gambling. At this point, most people would go off and start talking about all the negatives of gambling, and I've been very guilty of doing this in the past. A lot of my videos have been based around losses, the loss of money, time, relationships, and all the harm that I caused myself throughout my many years of gambling. And it's undeniable that gambling is one of the most dangerous and one of the most destructive addictions there is, partly because of its secretive nature, but also because of the impact it has on virtually every element of your life, be it financial, relationships. It can have effect on your work, your living situation, your friendships, and everything else in between. However, to constantly harp on about the negatives of gambling, the destruction and the dangerous elements that a gambling addiction has, is kind of a bit of a moot point in many instances. If you're watching this video, then the chances are that you have had or currently do experience issues with gambling addiction. And if that is the case, then much like myself, you don't need to be told about the dangers and the negatives of gambling addiction. Preaching to a gambling addict about the dangers and the negatives that a gambling addiction can cause is a bit like telling Egyptians something about sand or Eskimos something about ice. There is no one on this planet that knows more about the dangers and negatives of gambling than someone who is addicted to gambling. So to try and focus on the negatives as a way of recovery is kind of a bit falling on stony ground. What I want to talk about in this video is the positives that come from abstaining from gambling. People say that gambling is incredibly expensive, but who's gambling to save money? It's a big thief of time, but let's face it, a lot of the time with gambling, we're doing it to kill time. We're doing it as a form of escapism and as a way of burying our heads in the sand from the other things that are going on around us. So, to merely reiterate and regurgitate these negatives is, again, a bit of a moot point. So let's talk about what you stand to gain from escaping this trap, escaping this insidious addiction. Now, the first thing is you will get plenty of time back. All right, and this in the early stages can actually feel like a bit of a negative. But once you get past the early stages of kicking about the house, not sure what you're doing, trying to fill time with YouTube videos and Netflix and all the rest of it, you'll find your life opens up into a whole new world of possibilities. Those people who are subscribed to this channel, if you've commented on a video in the last couple of weeks, you'll see that I've actually probably, sorry if I missed you, sent a personalised reply to your comment. Now, this has got nothing to do with gambling, to be fair. This is because I've stopped drinking in the last couple of weeks. It's afforded me, in the same way that quitting gambling affords you, so much additional time to do more constructive, more productive and beneficial things. Like I say, sorry if I missed your comment. It may have been held or I might have just overlooked it, but what I've also been doing is obviously doing more videos. I've been spending more time with the family. I've been putting in more work. I've been building other things. And these are all things that gambling distracts you from. The other things that maybe you actually really want to do with your life, and that is a very, very important point. Your gambling brain is fixated on short-term gratification, instant gratification. It will focus on what you want to do in the here and now. But what I suggest you do, as someone far wiser than me said, is take a step back. In any moment of calm, take a step back and think truly about what you really want to achieve in life. What do you really want to do in life? Where do you want to be? What job do you want? What business do you want to start? What sort of relationships do you want to form? What hobbies do you want to get better at? Maybe you want to improve your golf handicap or whatever. Think about what you truly want and focus on those longer term aims rather than committing your time and dedication to fulfilling that short term instant gratification. Focus on the long term, because by focusing on the instant gratification, you are sacrificing all those things that really, really mean a lot to you and that you actually really want out of life. Nobody on the deathbed is going to wish they spent more time drinking, gambling or doing drugs. Most people are going to just rue the fact they used these short-term instant hits of dopamine to basically dispel the ability and to set back the ability and the path to doing those things that they truly want from their life, that their heart truly desires, and that they truly aim to be better at. Now, of course, it would be remiss to talk about the benefits of not gambling without talking about the finances. Now, I've not been gambling for some time and I don't have a Rolex. I do have quite a nice watch, but it's not a Rolex, right? My car is an old BMW, and I don't live in a mansion. So it's fairly safe to say that quitting gambling hasn't made me a millionaire. It's not made me, Scrooge McDuck, right? I'm trying to think of a better analogy there, right? It's not afforded me riches and wealth and holidays in the Caribbean and, private jets and all the rest of it. It's not done that. What it has done, and this is the biggest thing financially that you will find when you get onto that sustained path of recovery, is it's afforded me an element of peace of mind. Yes, of course, there will always be things that do test you financially. I had to get an oil leak repaired in my car the other week. My oven broke down not so long ago and I had to get that replaced. Okay, so there'll always be things that come along and test you. But what you do have is that element of peace of mind. If something serious happens, you can cover it. Or at the very least, it doesn't cause you a complete meltdown. One thing I actually noted the other day, I have a little pad that I carry around with me that I jot things down on when they come to my head, is the case of an unexpected direct debit. And we all have these, don't we? Something we've signed up for, something we've forgotten about, maybe a gym membership or a HP payment on a broken oven or something. And it suddenly comes out the bank maybe 2 or 3 weeks into the month when we're obviously a bit skint probably from losing all our money gambling. And that has now become, to me, an irritation, a minor irritation. Oh, for fuck's sake, I forgot about that. Another 40 quid gone or another 50 quid gone or whatever it is this direct debit happens to be. It's a minor irritation. It's a minor annoyance that someone's taken money out of your bank account that you'd completely forgotten about. When I was gambling, when I was living on a shoestring, when I'd done all my money within the first week of the month after being paid, a unexpected direct debit like that, be it even 20 quid, could have caused complete devastation, because that may have been money that I was relying on, living on for the next couple of weeks. Maybe that was my food allowance for the next couple of weeks. Maybe I didn't have the money and it bounced and I ended up with another fee. Fees on top of interest, which is the last thing you need with someone who's struggling financially because of a gambling addiction. So you get to a point where suddenly those unexpected direct debits and those unexpected costs in life become an irritation rather than complete devastation. And that is, financially speaking, the most important observation I've got. Purely peace of mind and a lack of stress. That stress of unexpected costs lifted from your shoulders. Yes, you'll have lean months, and at the moment, particularly here in the UK and I'm sure worldwide, there is a bit of a cost of living crisis. The price of everything's going up, and I think a lot of people are feeling the pinch, and that includes myself. But you will be in a much, much better situation to deal with life's financial stresses if you decide to get into recovery. All right. Now, these things don't happen overnight. All right. I've spoken about this many times, so I'm not going to repeat myself, as I have a tendency to do. Okay. Your finances will not repair themselves overnight, but you will slowly find yourself getting into a better and better position. The stress will start lifting. You'll start sleeping better, and you'll be in a far better situation to deal with other elements of your recovery. I spoke about this in a video recently when I talked about going to the gym for the first time, and how that in the gym you'll get all sorts of people, right? From the super buff people that non-gym goers expect to see, you know, the lycra-clad women and the muscle vest-clad men with the big muscles and all the rest of it. But also you'll get everyone on a sliding scale to the people who are seriously out of shape, seriously unfit, and okay, let's use the word, right? Seriously fat. Okay. Now, like I said in that video, I do not want to judge people for being fat going to the gym, because ultimately they're there doing the right thing. In fact, actually, that's a great thing to see. People who are really out of shape going there to improve their lives. So how does this relate to gambling? Well, I see people around me who gamble compulsively. Gambling addicts. I see alcoholics. I know people with addictions of all sorts. Okay, and I don't judge these people because I've been there and I've done it. Okay, I don't think these people are lesser. I don't have any criticism of them. Ultimately, they are living their own lives and they are free to do as they choose. However, it's perfectly acceptable, on one hand, to not judge people and not think of them in any way detrimentally because of their habits or addictions. But also, you can use these people as a benchmark by which to plan your future. If there's someone, as there is in my life, who is sort of 15, 20 years older than me, and I know a few of these people, who are, you know, unhappy, they're divorced, they're seriously out of shape, they have a whole host of medical issues, and they spend their days just pissing it away in the pub. Again, no judgment, because I could quite easily be on that route myself. However, it is perfectly legitimate and perfectly reasonable to look at the selection of people you have in your life, the circle you mix in, and the people you see day to day, and use people as a benchmark as to what you would like your future to look like. In the same way that I have these people who are desperately unhappy in my life, there are people I see around me, and I use my own father as one of these benchmarks, who have had a successful life. They have a family they've brought up, you know, they have their own home, not overly wealthy, not, you know, flash in any way, or hasn't achieved, you know, the cure for cancer, or hasn't landed on the moon. But they're happy, they're content. And that is the benchmark I would like to set my trajectory for. All right. Now, you may have people in your life that are seriously successful. I mean, to be fair, I do know a couple of millionaires who own their own businesses and jet off around the world. And as much as that sounds quite nice in principle, I'm not sure I'm that fussed. But use the people around you, use the people you see every day as benchmarks for your own recovery, and to put your life on the trajectory for what you want to achieve. Like I say, focus on what you really want from life, what you really want to achieve, what you want to improve on, rather than succumbing to the gambling brain that just wants that instant gratification, that short-term fix of dopamine, because that will prevent you from ever achieving your true goals. Now, I'm going to leave it there because that sounds incredibly self-help motivational bullshit, right? But it is true. Next time you're thinking about having a punt, just try and have a think about what you actually want to achieve in life. And that could be, like I say, something as simple as, you know, improving your golf handicap, or in my instance, you know, building this channel and replying to people. I spent, rather than spend a couple of hours drinking and gambling yesterday, I spent a couple of hours going through my comments and replying to people. And once I finished that, I felt like I'd actually achieved something. Like, hopefully, people that I reply to will get something from that. And that's a positive, albeit a very small, constructive positive, rather than a degenerative negative. Stay safe, stay sane. Very quickly to mention about the Patreon, I am trying to build that. There's a few more people who are joining the Patreon, so thank you if that's you. I will be putting exclusive content up there. I'm also, having realised just how much work and time is involved in replying to every comment on YouTube, I will try and ensure I at least reply to every comment on the Patreon. You will have the ability to DM me. I'm starting regular discussion topics on there as well, so there'll be like a weekly topic we can all chime in on, and I'll come back on and we can talk about. Yeah, so if you do want to choose to support me that way, there'll be a link in the description. It is, of course, really appreciated. But even if you just like, subscribe, and comment on the videos, then that's really good. It helps reach more people. Like I said, the subscriber count's going up as we speak. It really helps reach more people. It's really appreciated. And hopefully, if I can build this to such an extent, it will alleviate me doing other things. Then I can spend more time with you guys. I can spend more time in person helping people. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the ultimate goal is to be able to make this one of my, you know, the key things I do in life is to sort of talk to people and help people with gambling addictions, or particularly, like I've said multiple times, I want to get in front of and talk to young people to maybe try and, you know, nip this addiction in the bud before it starts. And everything you do to support this channel, you know, I say, be that, just subscribe, just watch the videos, you know, or if you're generous enough to support me through Patreon, that is all one step towards doing that. So it's really, really appreciated. Stay safe, stay sane. Speak to you all soon. Take care, guys.